Get 3 months of local news for just 99 cents a month. You'll get unlimited access to the news you need to stay engaged and connected to your community. Visit DuluthNewsTribune.com/subscribe now to get 3 months of local news for only 99 cents a month.
Hello Northlanders, it's Tuesday, July 9th. I'm Wyatt Buckner, the Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union's services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's today's headlines. A judge on Monday set an early 2025 trial date and ordered new bail conditions for an Iron Range man accused of raping and killing a woman nearly 4 decades ago. Michael Allen Carbo Jr., 56, is set to face a jury for the second time in the 1986 slaying of Nancy Dougherty, a 38-year-old mother of 2 in Chisholm. Judge Robert Friday scheduled the 3-week proceeding to begin January 13th in State District Court in Hibbing, barring a possible change of venue. Carbo, meanwhile, could secure his release if he is able to muster a $350,000 bond. Friday kept in place his original $1 million bail figure without conditions, but said he could alternatively post the lesser sum with strict supervision requirements. Carbo, who was 18 at the time of Dougherty's killing, was previously found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder at an August 2022 trial, and he was subsequently sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 17 years. But the Minnesota Supreme Court in May overturned the conviction and ordered a new trial, finding that the district court erred by rejecting his request to introduce evidence of an alternative perpetrator. Dougherty was found dead July 16, 1986. Authorities obtained DNA from the scene, but testing of more than 100 possible suspects failed to turn up any matches in the ensuing years. It was only in 2020 that the Chisholm Police Department contracted with a private company, Parabin Nanolabs, to conduct a genetic investigation. Using samples maintained by private databases, the company identified Carbo as a possible suspect for the first time. Carbo, who lived about a mile away from the crime scene and still resided in the city 34 years later, denied that he was responsible. His defense team contended that while he clearly engaged in sexual intercourse with Dougherty that night, he was not the killer. They sought to implicate a longtime suspect in the case, Brian Evanson, a friend and lover of the victim who was otherwise the last known person to see her alive. Evanson, visiting from out of town, was also among the group that entered Dougherty's home and discovered her body. Judge Friday denied a defense motion ahead of the first trial to admit that evidence against Evanson, calling it, quote, mere speculation and bare suspicion, end quote. But the state's high court, in a divided decision, said Carbo should have been allowed to make the case that the other man was responsible. Defense attorney J.D. Schmid argued the evidence changes the complexion of the case. It was not known to the original judge, Mark Starr, when he last considered bail in August 2020. Friday said a supervised option was appropriate, considering Carbo's compliance, family support, and other factors. He arrived at the $350,000 figure because he estimated that to be 10 times the annual salary Carbo earned working with people with disabilities prior to his arrest. Carbo would be subject to electronic home monitoring and would have to abstain from alcohol and drugs and follow any other conditions set by a probation officer should he secure his release. Carbo has been returned to the St. Louis County Jail after a nearly 2-year stint in the state prison system, most recently in Rush City. The Downtown Duluth organization's annual Sidewalk Days Festival is Wednesday through Friday. Over 100 local vendors will set up along 6 city blocks of Superior Street from 1st Avenue East to 5th Avenue West. There will be shopping, food, live music, children's activities, and free entertainment for all ages. The event begins at 10 a.m. each day and goes until 8 p.m. on Wednesday, 6 p.m. on Thursday, and 3 p.m. on Friday. The Kohler Chevrolet Buick GMC Classic Car Show is Wednesday from 5 to 8 p.m. It will feature 8 blocks of classic cars and bands from 5th Avenue West to 3rd Avenue East. Participating bars and restaurants along the route will host happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday. The event will wrap up with the Superior Street Dance on Friday at 8 p.m., where or Dublin Irish Brew Pub will host live music from Lamont Cranston. At 9 p.m., the Barbie movie will play on a giant outdoor screen at Leif Erikson Park for free. Other attractions include the Downtown Duluth YMCA's 16th Annual Sidewalk Shuffle 5K, Duluth Children's Museum's Imagination Playground, a bounce house and inflatable obstacle course, skating demonstrations from Damage Board Shop and the Harbor City Roller Derby, Sea Smoke Aerialists, and balloon art from Laura Loons. Dan Williamson joins us with a special guest.
Thanks, Wyatt. I'm joined by one of our colleagues, Jay Gabler, Duluth News Tribune arts and entertainment reporter, and Jay has a story that we can find in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune. It's also a story that you can find on our website before that at duluthnewstribune.com. Jay, a Duluth Playhouse production is coming up, and this is based off of a classic comedy film. What more can you tell us?
That's right. Duluth Playhouse is opening a new production of 9 to 5, the musical. This is a musical with music by Dolly Parton, based on the 1980 comedy classic that also serves as a time capsule of a point in workplace history when women had come into the workforce in great numbers and were not having their contributions properly recognized.
In covering this story, what was your biggest takeaway?
Something I realized I need to really understand and take to heart as both a fan of theater and movies and as someone who writes about them. So responsibility as well is to really understand how an original of something and then another kind of art based on that thing are different. Even though they may share source material, they're different. For example, Alison Enderle, who plays the role of Judy in 9 to 5, the musical, told me she hasn't even seen the movie, isn't going to see the movie, just doesn't see it as being necessary, given that the musical is its own thing. It's its own story. It has the characters grow in their own ways. And of course, it does closely track the movie. And so if you love the movie, you will see a lot of, the characters you recognize, the situations you enjoy, and you'll hear some of those classic lines. So it's not a wild departure. But it was really interesting to talk to all three of the main stars playing the three lead women in this musical, as well as the director of the musical, and learn how they are approaching it as its own show and how they believe that the musical element of the show really underlines and emphasizes the themes of solidarity, resilience, uplift.
Absolutely. As far as our audience goes, what do you hope they take away from this article?
I took a minute to ask the stars of this musical and the director, what about the fact that, this is a musical hitting the stage in Duluth in the middle of the summer, a time when people flood into Duluth, but most often say, oh, we can't wait to jump in the lake or go hiking or go see a show at Bayfront outdoors, and maybe don't necessarily top of mind think of going into a darkened auditorium to see a piece of theater. And they pointed out that for starters, the North Shore Theater is just as much of a landmark in Duluth as Bayfront Festival Park, if not more so. It's certainly been around longer. Bayfront was still, basically a dump on the harbor when, the North Shore was originally popping. And it's a destination that people should see no matter what season. And if you happen to be up in Duluth during the summer, or if you happen to live in Duluth during the summer and you haven't seen this beautiful venue, well, why wouldn't you? Also, Alison Enderle again pointed out that, in her words, live theater is about a transfer of energy. That's how she put it. She said, we as performers are up there putting out a really specific type of energy to share with the audience for this amount of time. And she believes the energy in the room during this musical is a nice compliment to a Duluth summer. It's fun, it's campy, it's powerful. Basically, it's a great way to finish your day or, finish the day before a nightcap or yet one more spin on the lake walk while you are in Duluth for a summer day, whether you live here or are visiting.
And for those interested in checking it out, what are the days? What are the times?
Days are July 12th, that's this Friday, through July 28th. There are a range of times, and information about the musical is available at duluthplayhouse.org, as well as in a link from my story at duluthnewstribune.com.
And is there a good chance that we'll hear the title tune, the famous Dolly Parton song?
100%, Dan.
Excellent. Jay, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
And again, you can find Jay's article in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune. It's also a story that you can find on our website prior at duluthnewstribune.com. Wyatt, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Now here's a look at your forecast brought from the News Tribune's Northlandia podcast.
Good morning. The Duluth weather forecast for today: sunshine through the morning, becoming partly sunny this afternoon with a few widely scattered, I'll even call them isolated showers, thunder showers late in the afternoon and into the evening. Chance of rain is not very high. High today right around 80 degrees, a little warmer away from the lake. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, temps falling back into the upper 50s. A little cooler away from the lake. And then on Wednesday, slight chance of showers. Again, chance of rain is pretty small, with temps again peaking somewhere within a few degrees of 80 degrees. Nothing but sunshine Thursday with temps again around 80. A little warmer for the weekend. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist John Wheeler.
Thank you to the Northlandia podcast for their support. The bi-weekly podcast explores curious and unique stories here in the Northland. The latest episode looks at Clark, the Lake Superior shark, a wooden structure once intended to be burned on Lake Superior. You can find that episode and others at DuluthNewsTribune.com or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Tom Olson, Brielle Bredston, and Jay Gabler. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.